Along, I'm Mike from Radio Parts, and today we've got Mario from Ness. He's delivering the training. Ness is a company that we've dealt with for half a century, which is actually not uncommon for Radio Parts. We've got a few suppliers in that category. They're one of two suppliers that manufacture a lot of their security gear in Australia. And out of Sydney, we've got two. There's Presco that do the access control, obviously, a great Australian manufacturer, and Ness, who they build a lot of their panels in Sydney. We also do other products such as iCentral for the intercoms, and Ness we also work with on other products such as Hikvision, as well as a number of others. Mario has a lot of ground to cover in this session, so he's going to talk a lot about the security panels, the D8s and D16s, and we've had a lot of changes there. And yeah, if there's a certain direction that you want to take Mario in, I'm sure he's happy to go for a wander. We just finished the last session and it was fantastic. So without further ado, I'll pass you across to Mario.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. It's a great turnout. So as Michael mentioned, we've been around for a while and still going strong. Our core products are pretty much the D8, D16, the M1 as manufacturers. We also manufacture a bunch of other stuff, but that's not relevant here. 1972, how long does that make it? 45, 47 years, something like that, been in the game, thick and thin. It hasn't always been rosy, but we've always come through it. And Ness is a conservative company. It's run by engineers. It's not run by businessmen. We're a privately held concern, so we're not just out for profit. So it's a situation where we do manufacture product. We take every care in the world to make sure it's good product. So I'll get right into it. I don't know if you guys know, but this is not actually a formal training session. This is more a product information session. So if you want product training, hop onto YouTube with a D8, buy a D8, D16 before you do anything else. After you've looked at the YouTube videos, go buy a D8, D16, sit down again with the YouTube videos and physically wire a system up. That's the only way you're really going to get your head around the whole thing. It's not difficult, probably the easiest panel, I would say one of the easiest panels in the world to actually set up and program. And if anybody wants, I do have a quick start guide here. All right, takes you through A to Z, and that's how easy it is. Basically 2-3 pages, that's it. If you can get that done, you've just installed a panel. And I reckon a 10-year-old kid could do that. You'd follow it word for word, ad verbatim. Don't try and become creative because it doesn't work. Yeah, just follow it to the letter. It teaches you how to learn in radio keys, very, very simple. It teaches you how to do everything. Now, if you want to get very fancy and creative and things like that, that's a different matter. But I will tell you now that 99% of installations, it's a quick and dirty in and out because you want to make money. So if your customers want to get more creative and so forth, then charge them more money and get creative. But on your standard home install, that's it. Pretty simple. All right, so moving right along. I just want to talk a little bit about the manual. As I was saying, and I always say, in my opinion, and I've seen a lot of manuals, some of them written in not very good English, a little hard to understand, not very well indexed, not comprehensive, do not explain hardly anything, really. Very difficult to understand. This manual has probably gone through about 4 revisions now. It is extremely comprehensive, and the reason I think it's so brilliant is because at the back, if you didn't read anything else here, not a single thing, at the back on page 87 are what's called all the programming locations. So all the programming on a D8 doesn't require you to sit there and write if, then, or statements or anything like that. It's simply going to a location. So if I wanted to, for example, change the entry delay time, I physically punch into the keypad P26E, so P for program, number 26, E for enter, right? and it takes me to that location. And then all I have to do is change from the standard, for example, which is, I should know that, shouldn't I? 20 seconds. I might want to change it to 45. So I physically put in 45 and exit, done. It's simple as that. So there is really nothing hard about a D8 or D16. Now there are two different versions of the same panel now. One is the standard version, which has a plug-in PSTN dialer. The other one doesn't have a plug-in dialer. You cannot plug it into a phone jack to dial out. It has a built-in 3G GSM dialer. And the advantages of that are that you get push notifications, you get a free app that will allow you to control the panel essentially via SMS. The app is just an overlay, it's a GUI over a bunch of text messages. If you don't have the app, you can just text the panel. And it's two ways. So once you text it, you get a notification back. If you say A123E, which is ARM, plus your code, E, it'll come back and say A123 acknowledged. So you know you've got. Now, with the standard panels, buy them, not a problem. Any panel now that confronts the NBN is going to have an issue. And there are some Telstra engineers that can test this. Put it simply, analog, don't have anything to draw here, but everyone knows what a sine wave looks like, right? Okay, so that's an analog sine wave. Now, if you chop that wave, you're going to get a different signal. So pretty much digital versus analog is what we're looking at on an NBN line. So you're sending out an analog signal into a digital world, and it's not going to work. It might work, it might not. So you don't really want to risk that. So if you've got the NBN coming through, you've got one of two choices. Purchase an XCEL panel with a built-in 3G GSM dialer, or purchase one of the standard panels, well, it's three choices actually, risk it, or purchase one of the standard panels and put in a 3G GSM external dialer. At the end of the day, if you choose to do that, you're going to spend the same money. So you might as well buy the XCEL panel. It's $140 roughly difference, right? So you might as well just buy the XCEL panel with the added benefit that you're going to get push notifications and you get a free app. So choice is yours. Do the numbers.
All right. Can a standard panel work with the external GSM dialer on the app?
No. All the external GSM dialer is going to do is call you. And you know, you'll see it come up on your phone, and you might name it My Home Security System, and oh, there's been a breach. Now, you can't do anything other than that. You can't talk to the panel back as you can with the built-in dialer. All you can do is have the option of putting in a serial to Ethernet bridge and having another app that connects you to the internet, and then you can get on that app and get into your panel and say, oh, zone one's been breached, blah, 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 I want to unlock doors, or whatever you want to do. Whereas with the XCEL panel, it's all there. You don't have to add anything, it's there. So at the end of the day, it is the cheaper option, it's the better option. The only thing is, it's going to cost the end user $7.90 a month. You have no option but to run with the Telstra SIM it comes with, and the reason we did that is because we wanted to go with the best of the best. And everybody bags Telstra, but I'll tell you what, you go to Wagga, it's Telstra that's going to give you service, okay? So we didn't want a situation where we've got a lot of people out in the country, right? And you put in this panel and there's no signal because they put in a May SIM or something, or an Aldi SIM or whatever. And I know people that have got Aldi SIM, they get pretty good service, but try going out bush, not happening. So my answer to it is, it's expensive. Is it really expensive? Okay, so what's 12 eighths of 72? Well, 12 eighths, what are 12 eighths? I'm sorry. Whatever it is, 96, right? So which is a pretty decent, it's a good slab of beer or a half decent bottle of scotch, I don't know, whatever, a year. Now, if you took that number and say, okay, I'm going to go for an Amasim, and that's only $5 a month, and subtract that, it really comes down to about $60 a year. So it's not a lot of money. And self-monitoring these days is a lot cheaper than going to a monitoring centre. You're going to be paying upwards of $1.20 a day. So you're going to be up for like $400 a year. At the end of the day, what are they doing? They're doing what you're doing. Oh, sorry. Go away. Horrible thing. I've got to turn my phone off. I'm sorry. I've got my phone on because I've got a bit of a personal issue going, and Okay.
So you can't just whack your own SIM in there?
No. If you remove the SIM, it'll work for like about 12 hours or something, and then it'll just shut down. So unfortunately, we did it that way because the other reason was tech support. You know, you've purchased an AMA SIM, you've purchased an Optus SIM, you've purchased a Telstra SIM, you've purchased whatever SIM, and then you're not getting signal, he's getting signal, you're not getting signal, you're getting half a signal or whatever, and our tech support guys are just going to fly the coop because they're going to say this is ridiculous. So if you standardise, it is definitely the best option because then you know right across the board if there's a problem with reception, you hammer Telstra. That's it. So for $7.90, sorry, yeah.
So I have a situation where they put an NBN and then the D16 still dial out when something is on. And
Yep.
without putting GSM
Yep.
or anything like this.
Yep, yep.
Where's the fault in there?
Nothing. So how many times, yeah.
If the NBN goes down.
No, the tower.
No, well, the problem, like I said,
The NBN works as well.
yeah, like I said before, it's a hit and miss. It's Murphy's Law. The one time that you really wanted it to dial out, it might fail. I'm not saying that it doesn't work at all. It does work, but it's not going to be consistent. So we sell probably 800-900 3G GSM dialers a month. And they all go into areas where the NBN's coming in. So, and as I said, I had a session with a Telstra engineer there, and he said, "Oh no, it's fine. It'll dial out, blah blah blah." But our internal tests proved that there is a reasonably good chance that it's not going to dial out. So I'm talking like 30% chance, and 30% chance when it comes to your home security. Why'd you buy a security system for if there's a 30% chance it's not going to notify the monitoring centre? It's nuts.
It only needs to fail once.
That's it, exactly. So I'm happy that yours is working. Whereabouts are you?
Caulfield area.
Caulfield area? Okay. That's NBN's NBN, and if it's working, okay, that's great. But as I said, our internal test show there's around a 30% chance of failure. So out of 10 tries, it failed 3 times. Yeah. So just, yeah, as I was saying, manual's great. Page 87 is your Bible in terms of programming. I have some, I mentioned the cheat sheets that I've got. If anybody wants copies, let Ben or Michael or one of the guys know. They'd be happy to accommodate. So moving right along. Just really, I can't spend a whole lot of time on this because we need to get into the new products, and this wasn't really meant to be a session for this stuff. But anyway, to the left, you'll see the stuff that you need to actually put a system together. Of course, you need PIRs, you need some type of keypad, you need a siren strobe, and you need an internal screamer. Everything else comes in the system, so you don't really need to purchase anything else, and that's enough to get you up and running. Everything to the right is all the optional extras you want. So, for example, you might want a radio interface. Why do I want a radio interface? Because I want a radio key fob and I want radio PIRs, because the system can run both wired and wireless. So you can run it as a hybrid. If you run it completely wireless, you're still getting 8 zones or 16 zones. If you run it wired and wireless, you're still limited to 8 or 16 zones. A question was asked about zone doubling. No, do not zone double. It's horrible, especially with PIRs. It's not a good idea at all. Reed switches, if you want to zone double with reed switches, that's okay. You can do it. So you can have like 3 different reed switches from 3 different areas or zones of the house wired into the same zone on the panel. That is not a bad thing. But PIR is not a good idea. So radio interface, as I said, you require that for radio devices like radio PIRs, wireless reed switches, universal transmitters, and of course radio key fobs. If I want a door access control, and by the way, you guys can get a print of this. Ben, I'll send it to you if anybody wants a print out of this. I'm happy for you to share it. Door access control. Well, what do I need for door access control? Well, I need a relay board because that's an output. I need a WeGAN interface because the WeGAN interface transmits protocol to the door readers, and I need the WeGAN door readers So I can control up to 3 doors off a D8 or D16, which is a pretty cheap door access control system. If you're running a light commercial property or a coffee shop or something like that, and you want some keyless entry, secured keyless entry, and you want to coordinate that entry with your security system, so when you badge it, it arms or disarms the system. It's not expensive. It's pretty cheap. I want to connect to the internet. Now, if you're going for the XCEL panel, there is a reason you might want this, and I'll go over that later, but you wouldn't really need it at all, because with the XCEL panel, you're going over the cellular network. You don't really need the internet, and you can do most of what you want on that cellular network. But with the standard panel, you want to connect to the internet, you need a K6002D, which is a serial to Ethernet bridge. Connect it to your router, port forward, bang, you're on, and then download the app, and you can arm, disarm your system over the internet, look at zones, whatever. Unlatched doors. C-Bus, you can connect to C-Bus. It's a reasonably good interface. It's been around for a long time now. Made a couple of versions of it, and I think I don't want to bag the competition, but it's streets ahead of Bosch's. So if you're into C-Bus, that's the way to go. Any questions there? No? Okay. Just some of the features. I won't go into too much detail here, but 8 or 16 hardwired or wireless zones, I covered that. Now, the auto time automation, it's something that a panel at this price, it's surprising to have, but being an automation company, we decided to do it a long time ago. So you can actually have if then or statements with the D8. So if I badge this or I disarm the system, turn the lights on. So you can include, and you can put time intervals there. So you've got a little automation product there, which is going to come pretty handy later on when we start looking at Z-Wave. So bear with me with that. Operation by smartphone and internet, I mentioned that. Voice alarms and prompts. So it will call you out and it will tell you that zone 1 has been breached, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Access control on board. All that I've pretty much been through. Area partitioning is an important one because you might want to, for example, have 2 areas in the house. One area might have 4 zones, the other one might have 4 or 6 or whatever. One's the garage, one could be the main house. So keep the garage armed, but not the main house. So you might say, okay, after 6 p.m, arm the garage, disarm the house. At 6 a.m, when you've gone and left for work, arm the house and arm the garage, or keep the garage armed, or whatever you want to do. Sorry if I'm going to rush through this a little, but I've got a lot to get through and not a lot of time. So if you have any questions, anyone? Oh, just one thing, and I didn't mention it in the last, but we have a pretty good website. My only advice for the website, don't use the search bar here because it's slow as a wet wick. All right, yeah, you know, right, Ben? Yeah. Go to the bottom, don't have it here, and you'll see in fine writing, advanced search. And that comes up and it's instant. I don't know why, and you can search by SKU, you can search by product name, description, all that type of thing. There is a lot of information on our website, you know. Don't be lazy, don't call tech support, you know. Oh, do you have a manual for a D8? They're going to say it's on the website and hang up. So be smart, use the website. If you're installers, whatever, there are a lot of videos, a lot of training manuals on the website. There's a bunch of stuff on the Ness YouTube channel as well. I think I mentioned that before. So there are a lot of resources there to help you get on with what you want to do. If you're an end user, do not call tech support because they will not give you any support. They're going to ask you where you bought it from and they're going to ask you to go back there. If it's purchased from Radio Parts contact us, we give them the necessary tech support. So the reason being, if every Tom, Dick and Harry was ringing up tech support, we wouldn't have tech support. The people that matter would not be able to get through. So end users, if you do not have a security license, in any case, you shouldn't be installing a security system. So not that it's any of our concern. If you're a contractor and if you do not hold a security license and you're installing systems, that's your problem if you get caught. Nothing to do with us. So keep that in mind. But yeah, website, all the manuals are there. If you've lost a manual on any product, don't call us and ask us to make you a photocopy because we're not going to do it. Believe it or not, a lot of customers do. Oh, can you make a photocopy of the D8? The damn thing's like 110 pages, double-sided. I'm not going to sit down and do that. So just download it from there and make your own copy. So easy done.
One other quick thing.
Yep.
The customers here too. Through their website, there are ways of booking training sessions with Ness directly. So if you want to learn more about the M1 panels or do more in-depth training on any of the D8s and D16s, they run multi-hour, full-day courses on this sort of stuff too. So
Yep.
Well
Yep.
worth it.
The D8, D16 courses are free. The M1 course is, the last I looked, it was about $750. But you get a full M1 Gold kit for free, basically. So because you need it for the course. So once you've done the course, you can keep it, or you can put it in Grandma's house and open everything. That's,
Security license, you can put it in Grandma's house.
yeah, that's it. Difference between D8 and D16? Nothing, absolutely nothing, except for a daughter board that gives you the extra 8 zones. In every other aspect, they're exactly the same board. So on the right-hand side are your inputs, 8 or 16 dedicated zones, pretty straightforward. Zones share a common terminal but do not require zone doubling. Okay, so this is pretty much what goes into the right-hand side of the board. You can have any mix of 3 keypads, or you can have up to 4 navigator keypads. And the keypads can be up to, Ben, how many metres away? 100 metres away.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's the quality of the cable. 12-volt rail might drop off after a bit.
You're probably right there, yep. Now what you'll find very quickly on starting up, we call it kick-starting. We advise not to put the plug pack in first. We advise you to put the battery in first. So there are 2 ways into getting into installer mode. The first one is the preferred one that installers do. Don't ask me why, because I'm not an installer. But there is a tamper switch here, J1. You remove that tamper switch. You connect the battery to the terminals, the system will fire up, you are in installer mode. Now the systems come with 2 standard codes. One's called the master code, the other one's called the installer code. You can get into installer mode by simply not doing that, just plugging the battery in, plugging it into a power pack, into the wall, and entering the standard master code, which is 1, 2, 3. So you physically, P for Peter on the keypad, 1, 2, 3, E for Edward, then P for Peter again, 6 zeros, E for Edward, you're in installer mode. Once you're in installer mode, you have access to all those programming locations. So it's as simple as that. In order to get out of installer mode, well, you just hit exit and you're out of installer mode and you're back into just normal mode. If you want to get out of installer mode here, you simply put the jumper back and you're back into standard mode, which means into user mode. Any questions? Anyone? No? I must be doing better than I thought. Or maybe worse. PCB overview. I don't want to spend too much time here. But one of the important things to note is that we have a normally open, dedicated tamper siren, which does not take up a zone. A lot of panels do take up a zone, but not with the Ness product. I won't worry too much about that. So it's a 4-wire keypad data bus. So yeah, I was right up to 100 meters. I had a bit of a memory lapse there. Using 4-core security cable. You can star wire or daisy chain, and as I said, it supports up to 4 of the Navigator keypads or any mix of 3 keypads. And any home that needs more than 4 keypads, that's fine. Just upgrade to an M1, which is a D8, D16 on steroids. You can have up to 16 keypads there. I don't know who would have 16 keypads in the house, but yeah. Anyway, once upon a time it was called wall acne. So we're often asked how many screamers, how many strobes, how many horns can you put on here? Well, you can have up to 3 internal 12-volt screamers. You can have up to 2 strobes and up to 3 horn speakers. I think that would make enough noise. Wouldn't want to get any worse than that, I don't think. So this is the program box temper link that I was talking about. Powering up the system with this link open will put the system into installation programming, and there's no need for a code. Now, don't leave the premises with P60E left in the panel, because that means everyone who's ever used a Ness system is going to be able to get into installer mode. So whatever you do, make a note of the code that your customer wants. Of course, you're going to have to change it from 123 for the user code. Make a note of that. So, and you know, keep a diary of your installations, and always know what the installer code is. We get so many calls of customers moving into new premises that they've just purchased. There's a Ness panel in there. They've got no idea what the code is. Installer has to go out there. They have to factory reset the panel and start all over again. Very unfair and very lazy on behalf of the installer. That's really, really sloppy work. If that were me, I'd pull their license, because there's no excuse for it. It's like you're getting a driver's license and the guy forgets to print the driver's license number on there. It's bloody useless, isn't it? So.
The Navigator keypad also has spaces in there for you to put your business name and number
Yep.
in there, so that
Yep.
when they want support, they call you first.
Yep, correct. Yep. Okay, so going to the left side of the board, or any questions on the right side of the board? Is that pretty clear? Okay, so on the left side of the board, you've basically got a series of what we call headers. And they're really simple to understand. So if I want a door access control, I need the WeGAND interface, okay? Now, if I say that I'm going to badge something, something is going to read my card, right? So that's called the reader header. So if I want door access control, I'm going to connect the WeGAND interface to the reader header. And then I'm going to connect the prox reader to the WeGAND interface. And by looking at that, I can control up to 3 doors. The additional thing that I do need, if I'm going to have door access control, is a 4x relay board, and that's called an auxiliary output, and the auxiliary output goes there. If I'm going to install something to connect to the internet, it's a serial to Ethernet bridge, goes into the serial port. If I'm going to connect the C-bus interface, it goes into the serial port. If I'm going to connect a receiving device, which is a wireless receiver, it's going to go into the receiving port. And it's just a plug and play. You don't need to do anything. Once you've plugged the receiver in, the wireless receiver, the only additional work you have to do, and it's on the cheat sheet, is to learn in whatever wireless device, whether it's a key fob for what we call user key fobs, or whether it's a radio PIR or a read switch. They have to be learned in. Very simple process. Any questions?
Just for that wireless VRF, that works on all models, doesn't it? There's no
Yes, it does. Yep, it's 304 megahertz across the board. The M1 also, which is its big brother, also is the same. Or you can go for the 900 and whatever, I forget now, megahertz, two-way receiver on the M1. If you choose to do that, make certain that you're also ordering the two-way PIRs, the two-way key fobs and so forth, because it's a completely different protocol. Yep.
Yeah,
Distance on the wireless PIRs is a couple of miles. No, really hard to gauge. If it's your normal 4-bedroom brick veneer home, stuff like that, without solid concrete walls and so on and so on, anywhere between 30 to 45 metres. Yeah.
And is there any way of testing to know that it could be too long a range?
There is a signal test.
There is on the-
Yeah, on the keypad, there is a signal test strength. It's in a location, and it brings up the bars of how.
Shows what it
Yeah,
is, okay.
yeah.
In the serial devices, how many devices you can put it there?
Serial device, technically, you can only put one.
Only one.
Yeah,
So
but
if you are going with IP module, so only that. Say serial to.
yes,
Ethernet
correct. Well, if you go for a C-bus module, the C-bus module has a serial jumper header on it.
Okay.
So you plug the C-bus module into the board, and then you plug the IP module into the C-bus module.
Okay.
And
so you can go on.
You can piggyback like that.
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a wireless repeater for the 314 meg as well, isn't there?
The wireless repeaters are no longer manufactured because we just weren't getting the demand for them, so they've been pulled. If you find that your signal's not good, we have high gain antennas. You can actually put the wireless receiver up to 30 metres away from the board, so from the panel. So if, you know, I'm sorry to say it, but most installers get really bum lazy, and what they'll do is they'll just chuck the receiver inside the panel. And why we make a plastic panel, it's actually kind of a composite plastic, is because metal panels will just cut the signal. So you'll find with some of our competitors, they have metal boxes and you have no option but to put that receiver outside the box. So let's say you put the panel in the garage and the garage is downstairs and you need signal from upstairs. Well, it's a good idea if you can to run that cable upstairs and have the wireless receiver upstairs. So you get a clean signal. But if you can't, you can always put in a high gain antenna that plugs into the wireless receiver, and you can put that high gain antenna anywhere you like and you get signal strength. Yeah.
Can I ask, when you have the wireless, say, fob receivers, if the signal cuts off between the...
So which receivers, sorry?
say, for example, you have a PIR, wireless PIR. and
Yes.
It loses signal,
Mm.
will it trigger the alarm?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So if it loses signal,
Yep. Yep. That's like a zone breach. Yeah.
With the access control, the readers, they have like little mounting block, and it's just a 4-core cable that runs to them.
Correct. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Is that,
It's, if you're running cable for WeGAN, you've got to make sure it's twisted shielded. Right? So your standard security cable is not going to do. You need to run, twisted shielded cable grounded at one end. The other thing is do not rely on the power supply and battery from the panel to support your access control. Building regulations, you need a separate, very few do it, but you really should put in a separate battery back power supply. And if the power fails, your doors should be left normally open. Customers will sort of grumble about that. Oh, your door's going to leave the doors open. Well, you know what? If you don't want anything to happen, you want it fail safe, get a battery back power supply. And that way you're not going to have a problem. But if, for example, you have a complete power failure and the building's burning down, unless you have emergency exit buttons, right, to unlatch the door, unless you have a manual override on the door, you're liable to get locked in and burn to a cinder. So it's not a good idea. Yeah.
on the access control, isn't it on the latch part? Not the latch of the door, but the tongue.
Yep.
No, the groove.
Yep.
The groove that actually opens. So,
Yep.
so the door itself works like a normal door.
You can have it one of two ways. In a lot of installations, they don't actually have a handle. It's just purely keyless entry. There are other installations where they do have a handle, and the handle kind of works if the door isn't armed, but if it's armed, the handle doesn't work. So, yeah.
And you've got mag locks and
Yeah, you've got mag locks. Mag lock, how are you going to override a mag lock? Unless the power fails. So, and mag locks can be up to 1,200 pounds. So it's pretty hard to open. Yep. I went through that earlier. If anyone has any questions about the serial header, a gentleman there asked a question before. Anybody else? No? Okay. Now, one thing that you need to note, when you do purchase this product, you'll get 2 leads. You'll actually get 2 of these. One has a 4-pin header here, and the other one has a 3-pin header. And that reason being that we changed to a 4-pin header about 2 years ago, so a lot of the older panels only have the 3-pin header. So don't sort of look at it and go, what the fuck, right, what's going on? No, it's okay. Check your panel, check how many pins are on the panel, and use the appropriate header. Auxiliary output header, I went through that before. Relay board plugs into the aux header. Offers 4 dry contacts, low voltage for low voltage switching relays. So let's say if you wanted to operate a garage door. So in order to operate the garage door from a key fob, you're going to need the key fob itself. You're going to need the wireless interface. You're going to need a 4x relay board. And what's going to happen is that when you press one of the buttons, say the auxiliary button on the 4x button on the key fob, it's going to be programmed to fire up a relay, and the relay is going to go click, and then from there on, whatever the electrician does to the garage door motor or whatever, it's going to start moving the garage door. So it's pretty straightforward. So the radio receiver header, going back to that again, supports up to 55 wireless radio keys. So I don't know how many people live in your house, but I don't have 55. 8 wireless zones and 16 wireless zones on a D16. Now the wireless radio keys could be key fobs, they could be, help me out here, pendants, that's it, things like that, thank you. Yeah.
Where do you put the high gain antenna?
Somewhere, where do you put, inside there is an antenna connection, it's not shown there, but there's an antenna connection inside the receiver. There it goes there. Oh, I forgot I put that there. So high gain antenna can simply plug into the receiver to increase reception and is recommended for radio keys. Now you'll see something else called, called a listen in header, and it's kind of a built-in diagnostic feature for testing the dialer. I don't know anyone that uses it, honestly. I don't know, Ben, have you ever used it? No, never used it. So getting back to the alarm dialer, I don't know if I mentioned it before, I think I probably did. There is no way to connect the XCEL panel to a PSTN line. There is no connection. So the only panel that does have a connection is the standard D8, D16, not the XCEL. So if you're wanting to do both on the XCEL, you can't.
So the XCEL just gives push notifications?
I'm sorry?
The XCEL just gives push notifications? It can't call you mobile?
Oh yeah, of course.
It can call
yes,
you
yes,
mobile
yes,
to do
yeah.
audible voice?
Yep.
Can the DXL be connected to, say, the monitoring center?
Yes, there is contact ID. Yep.
Contact ID.
Yep.
No IP reporting?
Not IP reporting, no. If you want IP reporting, you need to get something like a Permacon unit. I don't know why you would, but... So as I was saying before, if you do have customers with a standard panel, and they may not be experiencing NBN issues, but if they are, or if they're getting a little paranoid, it's a 106-249 3G GSM dialer. They're not overly expensive. It's great for existing customers. They're getting the NBN through. I think if you're reselling to a new customer, I think you're better off, recommending the XCEL panel, because you get more features and it costs the same. By the time you add that on, it comes about the same price. Just a little bit there about our housings. You can get larger housings for the D8. They're actually metal. So if you do decide to put, for example, 4 different main boards in there and have 4 different premises controlled out of the same box, you can do it. Just keep in mind that they are metal, and if you've got the RF receiver there, it's going to limit its range considerably. So, and these are the other 14-inch and 28-inch metal enclosures that you can actually use if you like.
You still can connect the RF outside the box, can you, if it's metal?
You should really connect the RF receiver outside of the box.
When it's metal.
I'm sorry?
When the enclosure is metal.
Yeah, when the enclosure is metal. Even with the polycarbonate enclosure, it's a good idea to have it outside of the box, because you've got an RF receiver, and then inside the box you've got other frequencies going with electronics and things like that. So it's not ideal. It works, and I don't think too many have not worked in that regard, but it's just cleaner to have it outside of the box.
It's not an issue if it's metal.
No. So just really quickly on the Navigator touchscreen, if you're installing, it's a good idea to keep one of these as a utility in your toolkit. So if you've got a customer that wants the standard KPX keypad, much easier to program, much faster, much more logical. It's got the entire manual in there. Program the system with this, then just simply unplug it, put the KPX back in, fire it up, and you're done. Very quick. It's around a $20 difference between the two, so it's not a hard sell. Installation's pretty quick. With the Navigator, you've got a cable entry at the back on the mounting plate, a couple of screw holes, and it's locked in. Just a quick wiring diagram there on the 4-pin header from the main board, so very straightforward. That's in the manual, you can look, yep. So if you're wondering, you should be using 7/020 security cable with these installations, in case you're wondering. So as I mentioned before, when powering up, it's recommended to first connect the battery, then the AC power. Once you've done that, remove that jumper and you're in installer mode. Now there's some things called battery current protection bulbs. When you first fire up the system, they'll glow, right? When the battery's charged, they'll stop glowing. But if they keep glowing, contact tech support, because you've probably got a problem. So just keep an eye on that. Pretty rare that ever happens, but you'll find that it'll be kind of a low glow to begin with, and then as the battery's charged, it just extinguishes. So there is also, I forgot to mention in the last session, there's a heartbeat LED. So a constant flash when the system is in normal operation. If it's slow or the flashing is inconsistent, then you have a panel memory issue. If you have a panel memory issue, you need to default the panel back to factory default and start all over again. So a panel memory issue could be a memory conflict with your programming. It could be you've overloaded the panel and you're out of memory, anything like that. I don't know of anybody personally that's actually overloaded the panel in that way, but if you keep seeing that, no matter what you do, if you've defaulted the panel, and there is in this cheat sheet how to default the panel. If you defaulted the panel and that light keeps coming back, call tech support and get the main board changed, because you've got a problem.
Mario, just one thing on that. I've seen it just once.
Yep.
There was an installer who used the desktop software to program it, and
Okay.
added in multiple programs for each day of the week, a dozen different users and different code entries and all those other things.
Yeah.
Basically, did as much as you could possibly do and then some. So
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, so memory overload.
up to all into it and then went, oh, why isn't it
Okay. Okay. So just a bit of a close-up there on where you're connecting your Navigator keypad, your horn speakers and box tamper and so forth. So once you've removed the jumper there, what you do is then connect the box tamper to it, and then close the door. You open the door, tamper goes off, siren goes off. So as I mentioned very quickly again, to get into program mode, we all understand the temp, but out of the box, the system comes with two codes: master code, installer's code. Master code is 123, installer code is 6 zeros. So first you put in P123E for enter, then you put in P, 6 zeros, E for enter, you're in installer mode. I've been through all that. All right, so I might jump ahead a little here. Are there any questions at this point? No? Okay. Does anybody want a copy of that? Yeah? I don't know how many I've got here.
If you don't have one, come and see me afterwards and I'll be on the list.
There should be enough there. Yep. Just hand them out.
Sure. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, man. Missed you.
So, because I'm running kind of short of time, guys, I'm really sorry. So basically in master code mode, which is the householder, this is basically all he can do, is to set the system clock and date. He can change the entry exit delay, times. So at standard it's 20 seconds. He can make it 30, 60. He can change mobile phone dialer numbers. So he can change phone numbers that the system's dialing out to. He can change user codes. So he might want to change his user code for his wife because whatever. She's giving him a hard time. He can replace radio keys and access cards, and that's it. They can't do anything else. So if you want to get into anything deeper than that, you need to get into installer program mode.
There is exit to entry to also, no? Second entry time, no?
Yes. Sorry, second entry?
Yeah, this one you can, if you come from the front door, you can put 30 seconds.
Yes. And then as you're leaving, different area, yes.
The garage, you
Correct.
Need to get out of the car.
Correct. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yep. So I'm just going to jump ahead a little here, if that's okay. Just bear with me a sec, because then we start getting into a lot of stuff that I haven't got time for, unfortunately. So,
All right, if you're okay with it, can you send us a copy of this afterwards?
Of
the full presentation with all the other slides?
it's like about 4 gig.
That's fine. We'll just work out a way of compressing it or pulling it apart if you like.
Have you got a USB?
Yeah, we can sort that out.
I can give it to you at the end of this session, yeah?
No worries. We'll work out some way
Yeah.
of compressing it for anybody who wants to download it or look
Yep.
at it later. So.
Yep, no problem. So just one more thing. Detectors, I mentioned in the previous session that I get very, very amused when installers call up and go, oh, you got any detectors, good ones? Yeah, okay, so for example, I'd quote them on a Ness Quantum or Lux. Oh, you got anything cheaper? I was saying, well, it's like about a $10 difference, so why do you want to go cheaper? So you start off with single lens, which are the kind of the budget price stuff that builders put in and charge customers a bloody fortune. Then you move on to dual lens. I don't know why you would, because there's not a huge price difference from here to here. Then you move into quad lens, which is your kind of premium detector. The only difference between the two here is that this one has a night light and this one doesn't. So you can actually get the night light to turn on if somebody gets up at night, passes the PIR, picks them up, light turns on, they get enough light, come back, turns off. In mission critical areas, I think you should be looking at dual pyro and microwave. So it senses both motion as well as heat. Number of reasons why they're very, very good is because you get fewer false alarms and they're very accurate. Do not mount detectors above 2.7 to 2.8 metres because there's a good chance they will not work. Make sure that they're referenced. So the internal lens, you can actually move it. So it should be actually pointing somewhat to the ground, so that's referencing. Don't make them face one another. Don't make them face into unnecessary infrared radiation like indirect sunlight that bounces off tables or things like that. You will get false alarms. And most of the time when we get people calling up, it's because the installer has incorrectly installed the detector. They get in there, they want to get out, get paid because they're put under a lot of pressure from the builder, the renovator, who, I don't know. And it's one of they're your eyes. If your eyes are not good, you're blind. That's it. So if you need anything to go above 2.7 metres, there's the TACX range of detectors. They can go up to 5 metres. Not too many homes have like 5 metre ceilings, unless they're on the other side of the river. External detectors, 360 detectors. We have a range, including the TACX, which you can put up to 5 metres high. Our own 360 detectors, which roughly 2.83 metres, not a problem. We also have a full range of external stuff, which are ruggedised and so forth. So if anyone has any questions on detectors, ask me now or forever hold your peace. Anyone? Anyone? Yep.
Are the external detectors, can they get false alarms via sunlight as well?
Look, people are kind of misled by pet aware. Pet aware thing is something that will, it's kind of touch and go at times because if you've got a dog over 20 kilos, it's going to pick it up. Or if you've got a dog that's kind of a big lanky dog, it's pretty tall, I think 1.2 metres, it's going to pick it up. If you've got a bird flying in front of it, probably not. But false alarming on external detectors, I really haven't had an issue. TACX are experts at what they do. They use very, very high-grade polished mirrors. The circuitry is first class. You can get cheaper than TACX, but you can't get better. We've never used anything else. For high-end detection systems, long-range detectors that pick you up up to 35, 40 metres. Beam detection, unbelievably good. I've got beam detectors that are looking at each other across 200 metres and there's bushes in the middle and they're still working. It's really, really good stuff. So if you come across any situation that's kind of out of the ordinary and you're wanting detectors that are out of the ordinary, go to TACX. If they don't have it, nobody does. That's actually out of the manual. That is just the general wiring configuration for PIRs. Wireless PIRs and radio reads. As I said, they do take up a zone, so don't be misled because they're wireless. Ignore that because that's the two-way one for the M1, which is the big brother of the D8. So we don't have anything other than the Lux wireless detector. So if you want to go wireless, you've got to go Lux. Mounting brackets, we have a wireless outdoor PIR as well. We've also got a range of reed switches. There's a third one that's not shown here. I recommend most of the time, if you can, run with the RR1. It's larger, it's got a bigger antenna, it's got a better range. If the wife of the house says it looks ugly because it's too big or whatever, run with the RR3, but just bear in mind, you're looking at around 25, 30 metres tops on that one. I don't think you're going to get any more range than that. So very small antenna and it's not supervised. So, but it's small. That's like about that big, tiny. Smoke detectors, ignore the bottom one. Once again, that's for a different frequency. It's two-way. The top one is BCA approved. Runs at 304 megahertz. It's pretty much learn it in, plug and play. Now, the way you learn this stuff in, it's pretty simple. You go to the necessary location to learn in a radio device. The battery you'll find is either put in reverse or not put in at all. You enter the location for learning in a radio device. On a navigated touchscreen, it'll come up with a learn in symbol, right? You put the battery in, you hold it close, boom, learned in. That's it. Simple. Read switches, as I was saying before, there's so many. We get calls, what read switch do I use? I don't really care because I'm not on site. So don't ask me, because if I give you the wrong read switch, you're going to come back, it's going to be all dirty and grotty, and you're going to want a refund, and we're not going to give it to you. We're going to give you a slap on the hand, because you're the one on site. You need to know what read switches you want. If you're uncertain, before you buy it, call first. We could give you some advice. Obvious ones are the heavy duty roller read. That's for a garage roller door. Surface roller reads are for sliding doors. The most popular read switches we sell other than those are this one and this one. So sometimes these, but this is a little tricky because the surface contact area is very small. They're a very small read switch. Most of the time, this is what we use. You can get these in a range of colours as well. I think brown, beige and black. So just really quickly on the XCEL panels, is there any questions on the XCELs that I haven't, maybe somebody wants to know something? Anyone? Going once, twice? Good question. Yes, all the keypads we manufacture now are backwards compatible to the older or to the standard panels and the old panels.
So the other way around?
No, you can't take an old keypad and use it on an XCEL panel. Yep.
Do you have wireless keypads?
Yes, we do. The wireless keypads are not, you can't program with them. They're only for arming and disarming, so they're just an arming keypad really. But yes, we do. Yep. Now in that mix of three, that's included. So if you've got a navigator and a KPX, you can only have an additional wireless keypad.
When did version 8 go in production?
Well, the version 8's been out for a while now. Version 8, about 12, 15 months. Yeah. So you can arm and disarm by SMS, get alarm reports by SMS, you can program by SMS, which is really, really handy. I mean, how cool is that? You can sit back at your leisure, customer rings up, look, I want some modifications made. You just hop on text, done.
Can we do home mode arm by SMS?
Sorry, do I?
This one is arm and disarm the whole house.
Yes.
Can we do partial arm
Yes.
by home mode?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Mario, sorry. With the arm and disarming by SMS, does it recognize only specific phone numbers to arm and disarm?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. No, you can actually restrict users from doing certain things. So you might not want the kids to, what might you not the kids to do? Have access to the garage when you're not home. Stuff like that. Yep. Because that'd be a separate area. So they're restricted from area 2. They're only allowed access. And you can actually say, okay, that could be from time 5 p.m. until I come home, which is 7 p.m. So just for 2 hours, they're not allowed. If they go into the garage, I'm going to get notification.
How this panel identify this SMS? So anyone can send the SMS to panel, no?
Anyone who has the phone number can SMS the panel. Yes.
But it doesn't know which one is which. So it takes every SMS like normal one.
Yeah, but to do anything, you're going to need your user code anyway. So basically, if you don't have the user, if you've given away your user code, you might as well give away your bank details as well, you know. So, yeah.
SMS, you need to put the user code also.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can SMS the panel. Hey, you've called me. Now, what's your user code? If you don't put the user code in there, you can't do anything. So, I tell you that my sister has that experience. She's out in Epping, and the internet's in and out all the time. It's shocking, but.
So the question for you on the modem side, the telephone connection on that, is there provision for an external antenna in low signal areas?
Yes, there is. Yep. Oh no, I'm thinking of something else. Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because obviously one of the biggest problems with
If you're in a mountainous area or something.
Yeah, so like up around Eildon.
Look, if there's not, I'm sure Radio Parts sell something like that. Where's Ben? Ask Ben.
But it's a matter of whether that has the ability to plug in an external antenna.
Well, it does come with an external antenna. So all you do is unplug that external and just put a different one in. Yeah.
We've sold external antennas.
You do? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
What's going to happen when 3G falls off the...
That's a really good question. There is this notion that 3G is going to disappear in a year. It's absolute rubbish because 4G doesn't carry voice. 5G is in its infancy. It's only available throughout the CBD, that's it, and it's bloody expensive. So the only way you're going to get voice and data is to have 3G and 4G. And if you make a phone call, you'd notice your phone falls back to 3G. So if 5G was fast-tracked in a year, then I'd say, yeah, 3G is going to probably disappear 2 years after that. So at best, you're looking at a 4-year stint.
But then you've got a whole pile of people with mobile phones that probably won't work.
That's it. I mean, how long did it take for 2G to disappear? It took like 4 years or 5 years or something. And I think the police band were using, weren't they? Yeah, police band was using 2G. So we actually have a letter from Telstra assuring us that it's going to be here until 2026 or 28. I can't remember now. I think it was 2026, at least until, at the earliest. So it probably 2028. So it's got good life expectancy.
There's a news story from a couple of years ago that speculated more or less that it was going to go out in 2020, and as you search online for it, that still comes up, even though it's never been confirmed. Telstra's never said yes to us. So if the customers doing their Googling and searching for it, that's what they're going to find. But it's not true. It's, as Mario said, it's going to be around for another at least hopefully 7 years, probably 10 years or more, the speed they go.
Exactly. Yep. So, yep.
Excuse me. On your 3G data, is there any way to reduce the RF radiation? Because if you keep near to the panel, sometimes it jams everything.
Well, that's a good question. I really don't know.
No?
You've got one?
Normally Permacon, you can put it inside the panel, but this one, at least you have to keep away from 1 feet.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it will jam everything.
you need to keep the external 3G GSM needs to be a metre away from the panel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're right. That's a good point. Yeah. Just quickly, that's pretty much the same features you get on a standard panel, with the addition of having 3G, SMS, the free XCEL app, which is out now. Some gentlemen that there in the last session just checked. It's not out for iOS yet. I've been away on sick leave the last week, and I was made aware that the app was out, but I wasn't told it wasn't available for iOS yet. Apple tend to drag things out. So as I said before, comes with a pre-installed SIM card. You got no choice, you're stuck with Telstra.
Is that not working with other SIM cards?
No.
Only Telstra?
Only Telstra, yep. So in order to activate your SIM card, what you'll find on the inside of the front panel door is a sticker. I'll show it to you in a minute. It's got the SIM card activation number and so forth. So you can take, if you're an installer and you want, you can take charge of the billing of that SIM card. So I don't know why you would, because people probably won't pay you, right? So I would let Telstra worry about that. So in that case, you go to retail customer. The website is called activate.ness.com.au. Click on retail customer, put in the necessary details, and you're up and running. Simple as that. So this is not coming soon. I believe I was told this is now available on Android. So the app is free. You don't really have a reason to connect to the internet. This does pretty much everything you need. Simple as that. If you wanted to connect to the internet as well and download a separate app, for what reason I don't know, you can. It's the K6002D serial to Ethernet bridge that goes into the serial header that we looked at earlier. You can download the Ness iComms or ACOMS app, ACOMS for Android, iComms for Apple, and what will happen is your panel will dial out, and then you can get on the app and just see which zones are breached and so forth. Now, I would recommend that probably for the standard panel, but I don't see why you'd want it for the XCEL panel. But the option's there. So just so you know, on the Navigator touchscreen, on all the touchscreens, there is a signal strength indicator for your 3G signal. A good indicator is your own mobile phone. If that's showing a weak signal and your phone's showing a weak signal, then you've got a weak signal. But one of the reasons we chose Telstra is because they're pretty solid no matter where you go. Antenna. So that's a close-up of the main board. SIM, the serial number of your SIM location. That's the label on the inside of the front of the panel. Our tech support number is down the bottom. As I said before, if you're an end user, don't call it. You shouldn't be opening the panel if you are anyway. Call your installer if you have a problem. So if you decide, or if there is a problem with this main board, what will happen is you'll get a new SIM, and you'll get a new one of these for your installer to stick on the inside of the panel, so you're kept up to date with the latest serial number of the SIM and so forth. So some of the shortcuts for messaging the panel purely by text rather than using the app. A is for arm, H is for home, X is for exclude, and so forth. D is for medical, S is for panic. So for example, if I wanted to arm the panel, I would send the message A123E and I'd get A123E acknowledged back. If I wanted home mode, H123E, same thing comes back. So you're getting two-way messaging from your panel. Same if you use the app, it'll come back and give you the acknowledgement. Okay, so everybody's aware, knows what Z-Wave is these days. It's pretty common. Yeah, okay, so Z-Wave is a frequency mesh technology. The more devices you have, the better the network. So you can use devices to do numerous things: automation, CCTV, lighting control, and so forth. So we took a look at this over the last 12 months and decided to come with an interface for Z-Wave. And in addition to being able to just have an interface for Z-Wave, we wanted to be able to integrate it with our panels. So what happens is that you get a D8 or D16 now that will integrate into Z-Wave, and you have a complete coordination of lighting, security, automation, and so forth at a very, very cost-effective price. So to start off with, there's a lot of Z-Wave devices around. Radio parts, you sell which brand, sorry? Fabaro or?
Fabaro, we've got Vera, we've got
Vera, yeah, okay.
And go.
Okay, okay. So they're all to Australian standards. So, you know, any one of Radio Parts devices will suit our controller. So we had all these devices, and for some time we were selling Z-Wave, and we thought, well, there's a piece of the puzzle missing. So we developed a Z-Wave bridge, and you can use the G1 independently of the D8s, or you can use it together with the D8 or D16. Both panels, both versions, doesn't have to be the XCEL. And it will work with any Z-Wave device that's Australian compliant. So you can use it as a standalone if you want a bit of lighting control in your house. Not expensive, pretty cheap. How much is a dimmer controller, you reckon, off the top of your head, that you sell?
$50 depending on which one
Yeah.
it is, maybe up to 80.
So to get one dimmer control module from CBus, you're looking at about $600. It's a little different, yeah? And this is great because you don't need to pull any wires. It's all wireless. And the more Z-Wave devices you put in, the stronger the network becomes. So it's recommended that you have at least 3 Z-Wave devices so you create a mesh, because it's a mesh network. So if you could imagine it working as, well, don't have anything to draw on here, but triangles. So you're joining one triangle to the next and you're building a geodesic dome, in fact. So the network becomes very strong, supports its own strength and so forth. So the more you add, the stronger it becomes. So it's a pretty amazing technology. It's been around for a long time in the US. I'm not sure where it grew from. There is another standard from Europe, which is Zigbee, yeah, which is a frequency hopping technology, I think. So it doesn't have the strength that this does, but it has other, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we're stuck with this here, and it seems to work very, very well. So having said that, it's compatible with over 3,000 Z-Wave devices. You can control up to 120 Z-Wave devices. So with one controller, you can have up to 120 lighting circuits, I guess. Right? You can have up to 120 automation devices. It's a lot of devices. You can control up to 40 rooms. So you can have 40 separate rooms that you can control. 60 scenes, so you could have home theatre scene, away from home scene, whatever you want to call your scenes. It supports Amazon, Alexa and Google Home. So if you want a voice interaction, so Alexa, dim the lights to 20%, you'll get feedback. Alexa will talk back, lights are dimmed to 20% and the lights dim. I'm not a big fan because I think there's some privacy issues, but so they say. But I've seen it work and it's pretty sassy. Have you seen it? Yeah, it's pretty good. And so on and so on. So there's a bunch you can do just with this alone, without the D8, D16. You can also integrate video surveillance. These are specific cameras for a Z-Wave network. The great thing is that they can record to SD card or, for a small monthly fee, record to the cloud. There's no NVR. We have both indoor and outdoor. The indoor gives you about 140 degrees, yes, of wide angle lens. The outdoor is IP66, so it'll handle the weather. Now, how do you get this up and running? It's a free app. Okay, so you download the app and what's going to face you to begin with is just a big plus sign. So why is it more? Okay, so I'm just going to, being curious, touch the plus sign. Okay, so that's going to give you the normal legal mumbo jumbo. We want your blood, we want your hair colour, we want your iris, fingerprints, everything. And by the way, we now own you. We are Google. Zcoms would like to send you notifications. No, fuck off, or yes, okay, I'll take the notifications. Right? What do we want to do now? We want to add a gateway. Yeah, because we've just bought this gateway, we want to add it, and yeah. So which gate? Once we've done that, it's going to say, okay, which gateway do you want to pan tilt camera, fixed gate? No, I want to add a gateway. So you select gateway. Next thing it's telling you, and I'm sure a 10-year-old could do this. It's that simple. It's telling you connect the power adapter to the gateway, connect the Ethernet cable to your router. So from there, you go to your router, physically plug it in. Wait until the red LED is on and not off. So there's a red LED, right? So wait till that's on and not blinking. This means that the gateway is connected to the internet. No port forwarding, Nothing like that. Very, very simple. Okay, so now it's time to key in the ID of your gateway and the administration or user account and password. Or you can actually scan the QR code. So let's say we just key it in, I don't know, and we call it demo unit. Now, using the default password is insecure. Key in your new admin account and password. Do that. Done. You've just registered it, it's online, and it's talking to the app. So now we want to do a few things. All right. We want to be able to connect it to a D8 or D16. Now, having said what I just said before, you can do a few things. That means you can start learning in Z-Wave devices and controlling them through the app, independent of a D8 or D16. The D8, D16 comes in for security and automation. Mixing security, automation and lighting control, so coordinating all that. So how do we connect the G1Z gateway? Well, pretty simple. Go back to this. We need the serial to Ethernet bridge. Goes into the router, from here into your router, from the gateway, and we connect to the internet. All right? So it'll work with version 6 and above, controls any Z-Wave device, lighting, etc., and any of the following D8, D16 events, panel arms, disarms, zone change, outputs turn on and off, etc. So you can actually put in if, then, or statements. So if this happens, then this happens, or sorry, if or then, or that happens, then this happens, which is pretty powerful for a very cheap panel and a very cheap interface. That sort of stuff 5 years ago, you would have to pay a small fortune for. So it's things have come a hell of a long way. So how do we add the D8? We go back to our app and we say we want to add a device. Pretty simple. Okay, tap on that. Tap on the plus sign, add a device. Now, because they're both sitting on the same network, and that's important, they have to be on the same network, it's found the D8, the D16, and that's the one we want to add. Okay, so it's searching for the device on the local network. It's found it, that's its IP address. Is it a 16 or an 8? Well, in this case, it's an 8. Put in the master code, put in the port number, because remember we connected the serial to Ethernet bridge, so it needs to know the port number of that serial to Ethernet bridge. Okay, so the access code's 123 because that's out of the box. The port number is 2401. Done. All right, now we've got the Ness D8 in there, and we can start doing all sorts of wonderful things between Z-Wave, CCTV, and security. All for a budget price. So it's not only good for new customers, but it's great to approach your old customers and say, hey guys, you want a bit of lighting control, you want a bit of CCTV maybe, fairly cheap, doesn't cost you a fortune, no cables to run, easy, plug and play. So now I can arm in away mode, I can disarm, I can generate hotkeys. So I can say, okay, I want this scene. When I leave the house, I want the lights down to 25%, I want the system armed, I want all the doors locked, and kick the dog. So, and I'll press one button and I'll walk away. Or kick the wife, whichever. No, shouldn't have said that. So, yeah, you can set, like I said, up to 60 scenes. Any mix and match of what you want to do. Not a lot you can't do. Any questions?
What was the name of this app?
I'm sorry?
What was the name of this app for
that I don't know. This just...
Zcoms.
Zcoms, thank you. Sorry, I've been away ill and this all came to me last week. No.
It means it's doing the same thing but in different...
It's doing the same thing at about a 20th of the price. So...
But if you got a pocket, you got already CBus. You don't...
No, this will not interface with CBus. No.
And do you need to wire it, if you don't have CBus, do you need to for every room when it says it.
There's actually, well, I think Ben can explain the wiring of there's actually no wiring with Z-Wave at all. It's all a frequency. So if you want, well, if you wanted a lighting circuit done, you could do it, well, let's say you had a lamp here, right? So you can have an external GPO plug that plugs into that, then you plug the lamp into that, you learn that into this, and you've got control over that light. But if you wanted everything hidden, you'd have to call an electrician in. The electrician removes the GPO and he wires in the Z-Wave, little Z-Wave module, and that is the dimmer for that circuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some that have got the light bulb that's got the Z-Wave controller
Built into it.
So you put it into an existing lighting fixture in the ceiling, plug in the light bulb, and it's now a Z-Wave controllable light bulb. You've got little push buttons that have got batteries in them. You've got sensors that have got batteries in them. You've got ones that plug into your heating or air conditioning system to control and monitor that as well. You know, there's a whole heap of things from that, and they all create their own. It's an independent frequency, so think of it like another version of Wi-Fi. It sits on top of everything else and talks to each other via that frequency. So, yeah, works really, really easily, really well. We've got some demo here.
We've got the demo at the edge of
But come and talk to us if you want to find out more. Yeah, garage sensors, heaps of different ways of doing it. So.
And they're coming out with more and more smarter devices as time's passing on. And the thing is, it's pretty much future-proof because whatever you've got today is going to be good for quite some time to come. So it's not like you're going to buy Z-Wave now and then the whole thing's going to change. And nah, it's pretty stable. The technology's found its sort of level, so you're not going to get lost. Any questions? Were you here when I went through this, Ben? Okay, so these you're familiar with, yeah? So they're going to be replaced with the 091s and 91Bs, and they've got Bluetooth in them. That's the essential difference. Yeah. So you might be wondering what's going on with this. This is, everybody knows Hikvision, I think. Anyone knows Hikvision? Yeah? Okay. So Hikvision have decided to run with a little kit here, which is a completely wireless 32-zone security system. It's, as I said, 32 inputs. It comes with 4 outputs. So you can get an output expander to expand it up to 32 outputs. It runs a two-way 433 megahertz communications. It has 802.11. It's got 3G and 4G. It gives you SMS push notifications, alarm notifications, and the most interesting thing, it gives you push video as well. So if somebody breaks in and they're picked up, any IP on-VIF compliant camera can be learned in to 2 PIRs. The PIR picks up the motion, it triggers the camera, and you get 5 seconds of pre-alarm notification footage sent and 2 seconds of post-alarm. So I don't know of too many other security systems that are this comprehensive, to be honest, and there is a comparison sheet that you're welcome to look at. I'll turn this way, might be easier. Yeah, it's better. I'm looking at the... Okay, so some of the key features: two-way wireless, extremely long distance. We're talking 300 to 800 meters. Yeah, it's ridiculously long. We didn't believe it. We actually tested it and got easily 300 meters out of it. So a number of ways you can configure it. You can configure it through the IVMS software, which is standard for most Hikvision products, and it's free. You can configure it through the web browser, or you can configure it through what they call IVAS, but probably the web configuration or the IVMS configuration is the easiest. So yeah, 32 zones, up to 32 outputs, up to 12 users. You can have up to 8 wireless key fobs, 2 wireless sirens. Now the sirens, when they say wireless, it doesn't mean that they're powerless. You need power to the siren. So you need power to the actual hub as well. So unfortunately, it's something that Tesla didn't finish before he died. Supports live video. You can connect the hub and camera via the cloud. Bunch of stuff there. So very, very versatile product. Is it cheap? I don't think it's cheap. Is it in the terms of outright purchase? You're probably looking at around about retail, about $690. And what you get is the hub, one PIR, the key fob, and a reed switch, and some access control cards. That's your starting point. But once you've got that, the rest of the add-ons, if you wanted more PIRs and so forth, they're very reasonably priced. But from an installation perspective, it's cheap, right? Because you don't have to pull any wires, you don't really have to do anything. It's all driven by an app. You don't even have to put in a keypad. So if you walked into a light commercial property or anybody's home that you can't pull cable through, solid walls, this and that, niche market is there. Absolutely brilliant. Rental properties, yeah, because it's the type of product you can actually take with you when you leave. So just reiterating again, two-way wireless, multi-reporting pathway and so forth. Kind of running out of time, I think. So because it's a two-way system, you'll get acknowledgement of events. So it's 433 megahertz two-way. And as I mentioned before, you can configure it via the Hike Connect application off your mobile phone. You can use the web server or the IVMS software. And that's about it, guys. Any questions? No? That's pretty much it. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for it.